little history of Dawson Creek. The Peace region is where Dawson Creek is. It has been lived in by 5 different nations. Blueberry River, Halfway River, Saltu, Moberly Lake, and the Doig River.
It is in the northeast part of BC. It's called the Peace region, as Mike said. It's dominated by the Peace River, that's the name, and it's big, wide, open, gorgeous country. Lots of agriculture and very, very rich in history.
Really cool history about the Peace River getting its name. We're not going to go into it here, but if you're interested, definitely look it up. It's a good read. Dawson Creek itself was settled in the late 1800s with a lot of history before and around the gold rush. Originally, focus was in the Pouce Coupe, or called Pouce Coupe Prairie, or I suppose if you're local, you call it the Pouce. Then, in the early 1900s, the train came through and created the downtown that is now in Dawson Creek. Hey, howdy folks. Welcome back to Dusty Tracks BC. I'm sitting here in Dawson Creek on a lovely porch and a lovely morning. With me here I have Don, part of PrEP. Is that right? Is that correct? No?
Short form PEC, Peace Energy Cooperative.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction.
No problem. There's a lot of acronyms around these days.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. What is it you do here in town?
Well, Peace Energy Cooperative is a renewable energy cooperative.
Yeah.
We basically, right now we're installing a lot of solar energy for people and businesses and municipalities. But originally we started out in the wind industry. Just to go back a little bit, we were Western Canada's first renewable energy cooperative. We were established back in 2003.
Right.
And at that time, way back in the early days, there was only 2 renewable energy cooperatives in Canada. One was in Toronto and one was in Dawson Creek. So we kind of were started out making a little bit of history right away, actually. But it was a challenge, but it was just a group of local people very interested in renewable energy. We knew the Peace region up here in northeast BC was very rich in solar and wind. That's sort of the 2 new resources, right? This has been a resource region for many years, coal, oil and gas, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we knew those were
Dawson
like the
Creek,
traditional
the Peace
resources.
region
We knew it
is
was
where
rich
Dawson
in
Creek
those
is.
and has been from day one.
It has been lived
But
in by
now
5
we're
different
looking a little bit into the future,
Blueberry River,
in the
Halfway
early 2000s, and
River,
going, well, you know, we've got
Saltu,
2 really big, huge
Moberly Lake,
resources here
and the Doig River.
that haven't been tapped at all.
It is
And
in the
they're
northeast
resources
part
of
of
the
BC,
future,
called the
no
Peace
question.
region, as Mike
We're
said.
going to have to go
It's
to wind and
dominated
solar.
by the Peace River,
And
that's
so
the name.
we
And it's
said,
big,
well,
wide, open, gorgeous
instead
country.
of letting the big
Lots
corporations
of
come in,
agriculture
the
and very, very
multinationals
rich
come
in
in
history.
and
Really cool
develop
history
our
about the Peace
resources
River
for us and
getting
give us
its
a few
name.
jobs and then
We're
take
not
all
gonna
the
go into it
profits
here,
away,
but if you're interested,
let's form a
look it up. It's good
cooperative.
read.
And
Dawson
maybe
Creek
we can
itself
keep
was
some of this new
settled
resource
in the late
wealth
1800s
in the region.
with
And the
a
best model we could figure out for
lot
doing
of
that would be a
history
cooperative.
before Right. and
That's a
around
European
over.
model, very successful.
Originally, focus
We
was
copied the
in
European
Pouce Coupe
co-op model
or
for
Pouce
renewable
Coupe
energy.
Prairie.
In
Or,
Europe,
I
it's been going
suppose,
on for like 30 years,
locally
right? And they've
called
got
Pouce.
hundreds of thousands of members,
Then,
and they
in
own
the early 1900s,
hundreds of
the
millions
train
of
came
dollars
through
worth of
and
renewable
created
energy
downtown
infrastructure
that is now
for
in
co-ops
Dawson Creek.
across Europe.
My favorite part
So we
is
copied
that
that model.
allegedly they
It's
literally
called a
just picked
renewable
up and moved
energy
the
investment
buildings. I think
cooperative.
those are the ones that they picked up.
So what
put on
our
logs,
main
and,
goal
like,
is to
rolled from
develop
one part of downtown
renewable
to another.
energy infrastructure and let our members invest in the co-op, and then the co-op invests in these projects. That's how we raise the capital to build them and develop them. That's what our co-op model is about. So our first project was Bear Mountain Wind, which was a very, very large project.
For a first project, that's
Yeah.
there are 38,
34 wind turbines up there.
34, yeah.
Yeah. It's 102 megawatts.
Yeah, that's
It was the first one in BC. So we were the first co-op in Western Canada, and then we thought, well, we knew we had a good wind resource. You know, at the time it was really interesting. This is back in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003. Suddenly, the Peace region up here was on the wind map of the planet because these developers started just arriving from all over the world, and they were snapping up all the good wind sites around this area. we sort of watched this happening as we were thinking about starting this co-op, and we we're going, holy mackerel, if we're going to do this, we better form our co-op and snap up a few of these ourselves. So that's what we did. We only got the one, but that's Bear Mountain Ridge, just near Dawson Creek. It's a beautiful ridge. It's facing southwest, just to catch the oncoming wind, and we knew it would be a good location for wind. So we got the Crown land lease for that 2,000 hectare ridge for wind development. So we snagged that while we could. And all these other companies from all over the world were snapping up all the other ones. So anyway, we got that. And then we had to pull some partners together to actually develop it and make the wind farm a reality.
How many partners within the co-op?
Well, at that time, as far as members go, we only had a handful of volunteer members. And then we had to pull some partners together who had the bucks to actually do this. There's a 2-year environmental assessment that costs millions.
Right.
There's wind towers that have to be put up to monitor the wind and improve the resource. That costs hundreds of thousands. So we pulled in a company called Aeolus Wind. They're in BC. It was their first wind project too. But they really got the co-op thing, and they really wanted to preserve the environment up there, and they really got what we were trying to do up there on the ridge.
Same mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a perfect match. So
Yeah.
we lucked out there, and we formed a partnership with them, and then we proceeded with the project. Yeah. And then later on, we had to bring in even another partner, and that ended up to be a really enlightened gas company, Alta Gas. They've diversified heavily into renewables, and they were ready to take on this project with us, and they provided the big money to actually build the facility. So we kept our little part, and we now continue to receive income from that facility for a 25-year royalty agreement. So the co-op does continue to receive money from that facility. Yeah.
How does it work with the Crown lease and also with the partner agreement, the 25-year? Because those two are the same time span, are they not?
Sorry, what was that?
If your partner agreement is up in 25 years with your partners, with the co-op
the partnership, so it gets really complicated. I really can't get into the detailed financial situation here. But the bottom line is that we receive a 25-year royalty based on how much electricity that facility produces.
I guess the basis of my question would be, is the co-op able to renew that partnership past the 25-year mark?
That's a maybe. We'll have to see.
I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. It's a 25-year contract royalty agreement.
Right.
And at that time, the whole facility has to be sort of looked at again.
Reassessed.
Too. Yeah. There's wear and tear, and maybe it has to be reworked a bit, and who's going to pay for that, and blah blah. So it's going to get maybe complicated at the 25-year mark. We'll see.
Right.
But we're very happy to have that royalty agreement right now.
Yeah.
Receiving that income.
Absolutely.
And we're very proud of the facility. It's clearly visible from Dawson Creek. And we know we started it and got it rolling, and we worked on it for 6 years, and we had a lot of work to do on that project.
A proud landmark for the community.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's quite a tourist attraction now too, because it's so close to town. You can drive up there, and it makes electricity.
Yeah.
Just a couple miles out of town, back in the woods, I bought some property and just built a cabin back in the woods and lived there. Yeah.
You still live there, or is it?
Yeah, I still live there, but it's not off grid now. It's on grid.
Right.
I put
on your grid.
I have my own little grid that I do run. Because I've got a big battery system as well. But I also put on one of these.
Right.
So Peace Energy put on a 8 kilowatt, about this, a little bit bigger than this one on my home, and then connected me into the grid. Yeah. So there's advantages to having the grid.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of handy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How does it work? Like, what happens when there's no wind for weeks on end? I don't know if that's ever happened. But
For what?
There's no wind for weeks on end.
Right.
How does the Bear Mountain wind farm produce any energy?
It doesn't.
So then, where do people get their energy from? This just goes back to basic BC Hydro.
Well, yeah. All that energy does is feed into the BC Hydro grid.
So it just adds to a
It just
memorable
adds,
thing.
exactly. Yeah, there's the big dams up on the Peace River that power most of the province, right? The WAC Bennett Dam, that's 2,000 megawatts. Then they're building the Site C, which is another 1,000. So most of the lower mainland, like where you guys live, is powered from these dams up here. That's where, and there's other dams across BC too, smaller ones. But now we have this 500 megawatts of wind up here, and that's, as I say, powering this region, and some goes south because we don't need it all. But no, when the wind, your question is, when the wind's not blowing, well, the dams are working and the sun might be shining if we had more solar in BC. So the idea is to diversify your energy sources. Yeah, so you got lots of wind, you got lots of solar. We've already got the hydroelectric. That's enough. Lots of hydroelectric.
Hope be to move away from hydroelectric and just predominantly be wind and solar?
Well, hydroelectric isn't going to last forever. I mean, well, the dams have a lifetime. Then you got to drain them or build them again. And I mean, yeah, they say 100 years, but I don't know. It's looking more like 50 or 60. So, because they're already doing that a lot in the States and around the world. The dams are reaching their lifespan, and they've got to do something. They've got to refurbish them, replace them, whatever. And they're also very environmentally destructive dams, because what do you dam? A valley. And what's a valley? The world's richest ecosystems.
We just came
That's
out
where
of,
everybody wants to live, in a valley with a river.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all the animals and plants. So, but you got to destroy that to make a dam. So what they're doing now in many places around the world is draining those reservoirs and reestablish them as ecosystems. That's starting to happen big time. Yeah, because the dams are wearing out. You've got to do something. And now there's so much wind, solar, and other sources of energy, we don't need that so much anymore. Now, that won't happen in BC for a while. But in the meantime, they're not enough. The hydro dams are not enough. Oh no, not anywhere near. If everybody's going to be driving electric cars pretty soon. Have you driven one?
Yeah, they pull a lot.
They're pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them up here too.
Yeah.
And we've actually got a charger in the back of the office here. And we have all the local people charge off our solar array when they get a chance and come in for a cup of coffee and while they're charging up. And it's really cool. So and we're doing that for people now too. We've got 2 places in Fort St. John now that are solar like this on their roof.
Right.
They have an electric car, and they're powering their whole house and their electric car with their solar array. Done. That's it. That's all they're going to need. They have no electrical bills, and they have no gasoline bills. Probably for the rest of their lives. So we've got 2 in Fort St. John, we've got 2 in Peace River, we got 1 in Dawson Creek now, I think, just finished. And that's the way it's going. Put a solar array in your house, get an electric car, done. All right, and zero carbon. And there's grants for a lot of that stuff now too. There's a $5,000 grant for home solar right now.
In BC?
Across Canada. It's
Across
Canadian.
Canada,
It's a
yeah.
federal grant.
Yeah.
$5,000 off your solar array if you put it up. Yeah, and that's been around for about a year.
And there's also is it sales tax on
There-
panels?
There's no sales tax on solar power in BC.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another.
Also motivator.
Yeah, 7%. Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Lots of motivations coming on. So no, it's we're really busy putting solar up on people's roofs, and Dawson Creek actually, we're just talking to them now, and they've approached us, and they want a bunch on their municipal buildings now. Some great big mother solar arrays. Yeah, and we did that for Hudson's Hope, not too far from here too.
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
really big solar arrays there. Some
Yeah.
of the biggest ones in the province actually we installed in Hudson's Hope about 4 years ago. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, very big. Yeah.
Wow.
And they're happy. They save about $80,000 a year on electrical bills. The district of Hudson's Hope. They're happy.
That's great. That money can go, back into the community.
Yeah, exactly.
In some other form, and
Exactly. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they went for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is it becoming more approachable then for the average person? Because from what I understand, the upfront cost is sometimes what holds people back from doing that solar shift.
For sure.
How will that look in the future?
Well, it's already looking better, as we were just saying. That federal grant came out last year. That's $5,000 right off the top. But if you look at the numbers, I mean, you don't even need the grants. Like, you put solar on your house, It might cost you $20,000, $30,000. And when you turn it on, no more electrical bills. Okay, so in other words, what's the return on that investment? That's an investment in your home, like a new kitchen or pave your driveway or something, okay, or whatever, or an addition. You're investing in your home. What's the return on that investment for solar? Paved driveway, there's zero return. All right, it just sits there. Solar actually pays for itself, and if you calculate the return, it's 5 to 8% for 25 years, locked in. And when the price of electricity goes up, which it always does, slowly but surely it's always going up, the return on that investment just keeps improving.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hefty.
There's no maintenance. It just sits up there. I haven't even thought about these things in 9 years. No electricity bills. I'm getting an 8% return on my investment. Just try to find that somewhere. Solar is the best deal you can find. It just makes, that's why it's the fastest growing energy source on the planet. It makes really strong economic sense. No matter what scale.
Yeah.
No matter what scale you build it at.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does work, yeah. So with the grants, then it becomes a no-brainer. Just do it. You're going to make good money and you're not going to have to pay any more electrical bills, and it's an asset for your home. It increases the value of your home, blah, blah, blah. That's the little sales pitch, but it's totally true. Yeah, and we've got people coming in all the time wanting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, we're busy. Yeah, yeah, and big arrays like for the city too. We're starting to plan some big arrays for this city. And we got the solar farm, and we're really busy doing solar.
How many panels is typical for a house, for a household need?
Panels now are about 500 watts each. So if you want, depends on, we custom design all the systems that we install. You kind of got to look at your electrical bills.
Right.
How much power does your home need?
That gives you a base of what?
That we design. Yeah. Well, we if you need this many kilowatt hours per year, then we design a solar system for your roof that will provide that much power to you. We can design it. Depends on where you live, and but we have all that software, so you can design a system easy for your home based on your electrical needs that will eliminate your electrical bills. Or if you only want to eliminate half your electrical bills, okay, whatever you want.
Right.
We can design it for that too. So that's how we design them. We custom design every one for the individual homeowner or business or municipal building based on what that facility or homeowner needs in the way of electricity. If you want to add a solar electric car, we know how much to add for that. Add an electric car, we'll just make it a little bit bigger, and then you can power your car with it too. That kind of a thing. So that's how we design, and works perfectly. We've done many of them all around this region. A few in the Lower Mainland too, and a few in around Edmonton and blah blah. We've done a bunch, and but we have all that data, so we know. All the systems, by the way, come now. They talk to the internet, right?
Right.
So you can go online on your phone or on your computer, and you can see exactly how much power that's producing at any given moment, and how much you can see the solar array, every solar panel on your roof, and what it's producing.
Wow.
And then that data is all collected, so you can say how much did it produce this time last year, how much did it produce last year, how much money did I save. It's all there, free. Comes with the system.
That's wild.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So we monitor all the systems remotely that we install. So we know through this system. So we know exactly how much power they're producing versus how much we said they would produce. And we're bang on.
Right.
We're bang on. Yeah. So the software works really well. And we know what we're doing.
You mentioned a little bit about wear and tear, and would you elaborate a little bit more on what the upkeep, I suppose, would be, and what it takes to keep the facility running?
Well,
or the project, rather?
There are crews that work up there. There's two maintenance crews. One's mechanical and one's electrical.
Okay.
They're full-time positions. Plus, there's an operator. That operator's based in Dawson Creek, and the crews work out of Dawson Creek.
Right.
They're up there all the time, keeping things working and checking things out and preventive maintenance. But it's been working beautifully and very productive, as predicted.
Yeah.
And but that's about it. As I say, at 25 years, everything has to be looked at again and reevaluated. So, but at that point, we'll see.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Yeah, it's a very sophisticated system, right? Those wind turbines are actually, obviously you're going to get some footage of these amazing. These are Enercon wind turbines. They're direct drive. They're the most efficient, least maintenance, and quietest wind turbines pretty well in the world. They're 3 million watts each, 3 megawatts each. So that puts out 102 megawatts total with a nice breeze blowing like today. That'll be putting out maximum power today. That would power all of Dawson Creek and the entire South Peace region. So those electrons flow right from that facility into the grid, right at the highway not too far from Dawson, and then they flow to the closest load, like electrons just do. Right? They just go where they're needed. Kind of magical thing about electricity. And the closest load is Dawson Creek.
Right.
So when that got fired up in 2009, Dawson Creek became BC's first wind-powered city, and still is, and will be for 25 years. And then the rest of that electricity just flows into the grid around this region and powers pretty well the entire South Peace region, about 35,000 homes. And of course, it was the first. Now, there's been several other wind facilities built since then, down towards Chetwynd and towards the Rocky Mountains from here. There's a total of now about 500 megawatts of wind operational in the Peace region. So that's powering most of the region, and a lot of power goes south to help power all loads south too.
That's quite substantial.
It's substantial, but it's a tiny little bit of the wind resource that we have here. That was all done under what's called a call for power from the BC government. The BC government during that period was actually asking for projects like this to be built, and they guaranteed that they would take the green power if we built it. And that's what made this 500 megawatts of wind happen. After they got about 500 megawatts built, they ceased the call for power. All right, so that just kind of stopped the wind industry in BC. Which we thought was a big mistake. They did go ahead then and build a Site C dam on the Peace River. Very, very controversial, very, very over budget, very, very expensive power. We don't know what all that was about. It's, kind of negotiating happens behind closed doors. So, but anyway, the wind is still here, and I'm sure, actually we just heard just a couple days ago that BC is now preparing to another call for clean power. First one they've done since back then. So I would say, because they realize as we electrify the planet and BC, as we move towards a cleaner environment and less carbon pollution, we are going to need an awful lot of electricity. Yeah, there's no question. All these electric cars and heat pumps, and if you want to electrify this province, which we're going to do in the next 15 or 20 years, you're going to need a lot of power. So they have announced that they are going to announce another call for clean power projects. So at that point, it's entirely possible we may see quite an explosion in wind and solar in the BC Peace. We have superb wind and solar too, resources up here. So I'm thinking the government's kind of waking up and going, yeah, well, maybe we better get some more wind and solar up here right away. Yeah, because we're going to need it.
At that point, do you see Peace Energy Co-op, stepping up to the plate again and
very much so,
and putting in another?
Not so much wind. Wind is big. Like you have to have hundreds of millions of dollars really to do a wind facility. Solar can be any scale. You can power your wristwatch with solar. You can power your house with solar, like this building is.
Yeah, this facility here, this building we're sitting on the porch of.
This is Peace Energy's office here, and we've put solar on our roof 9 years ago, and we haven't paid 1 cent for electricity ever since. And we're doing a lot of that for other people now. Solar has become Peace Energy's main focus. We did the wind, but we learned an important lesson there. Wind is big. Wind is huge. You need hundreds of millions, all right, to really do financially successful wind facility.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, that's fine. That's wonderful. It's going to get developed. It's going to happen because we're going to need that energy. But in the meantime, solar is much more versatile technology that really wraps itself really well around the Peace Energy model.
Right.
Yeah, because you can be any scale.
Right.
And that's what we're doing now. We've put up over 1 million watts of solar in the Peace region, mostly on people's roofs, but a lot of municipal as well.
Mm-hmm.
Powering arenas and fire halls and wastewater treatment facilities, and some really nice big arrays we put in up here because we have such a good solar resource too. So after we did the wind, we were looking around going, okay, what are we going to do now? And we were watching the price of solar come down so quickly over the last 10 years. It really came down quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched that happen and we went, okay, let's get into solar. So we've been focused on solar ever since.
Oh.
So you can make it small for a home, you can make it huge and power a whole city with it.
Right.
So this new clean call for clean power that BC Hydro and the government are looking at, we would expect we'll see a bit of a boom in solar in BC, which has not been really possible. Same with wind, both wind and solar
Mm-hmm.
have been tolerated but not encouraged as such so much in BC. That's why the big project we're working on right now is a large solar project, and we've decided to build it in Alberta.
Right.
Which is just a few miles. We're just a few miles from the border here, from the Alberta border.
Yeah, fairly close. Eh?
Yeah, quite close.
Yeah.
But in Alberta, they've got what's called a free market energy grid. So you can build a solar farm, you can feed it into the grid, and you can make money. In BC, you can't do that right now. I think that's going to change. There's noises being made about changing that. We'll see. But right now, it's really hard to do that kind of thing in BC, and it's relatively easy in Alberta. So that's why with our solar farm that we're developing now, we decided to put it in Alberta, yeah, just across the border.
Interesting.
So that project, you want to talk about that?
Definitely would like to, but
Okay.
we are here to chat about the wind farm for sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I know that's the new and the project on that's most recently coming to your plate, but yeah,
You bet.
being about Dawson Creek and a local tourist attraction, as well as a co-op within Dawson Creek is well, I think it's fascinating being from out of town.
Yeah.
It's a really cool adventure.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah.
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 It kind of makes sense to me why it's a co-op and not a corporation. Are you able to, now that it's established, are you able to, as a resident of Dawson Creek, are you able to join the co-op?
Oh, anybody in the world can join. Well, not in the world. We've had some people apply from Europe, and we had to turn them down. It just gets complicated, but yeah, no, we have members all across Canada. We have 650 members, 655 now as of this week.
Wow.
It's a membership-driven cooperative in the sense that the more members we have, like again, back to the European model,
Right.
the more members you have, the more capital you can raise
Right.
to build bigger and better renewable energy projects.
Right.
That's the idea. So right now we're in the middle of a marketing campaign to build up our membership. We're shooting for 1,000 within the next 3 months or so, we hope. It's a very ambitious goal, but we have a brilliant marketing company helping us out of Calgary, and they're really pumping the social media component. And it was just launched actually a few days ago. And its goal is to build up our membership. And the reason we want to build up our membership is because we have another project
Absolutely.
that we want to offer to our members to invest in, so that we can then go build it and then give a return to our members on their investment.
Right.
That's the model. That's
Right.
the investment cooperative model.
Right.
So the new project, as I mentioned earlier, is a solar project just across the border in Alberta. We'd like to build it here, but I think someday we will be building solar farms here too.
Yeah.
But for now, that's why we're building our membership right now. Big push.
Right.
And it's $200 for a lifetime membership. And of course, you get all the, you're actually buying a $200 membership share in the cooperative. So you own a piece of the co-op, and then you can become a director, and you have a vote at AGMs, and you get on a mailing list, and we send you information about what we're doing and about renewable energy on the planet, and climate change and what's happening and things like that. So it's a pretty good deal, and that's what we're doing right now, is building up that membership as quickly as we possibly can. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Question.
I am curious about this new project. We do want to focus on Dawson, but as a member of the audience, I'm so curious what the solar farm is and how it works.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, it's good. It's certainly very all-consuming right now. This is what we're super focused on.
Yeah.
We've been working on it for 3 years, and we're just to the point now, as I say, we're going to build up our membership to as many as we can get. And then we're going to go to what's called a share offering. All right, we offer we offer to our members an opportunity to invest in this project. Well, you invest in the co-op, and the co-op invests in the project, to be technically correct. But it's we've been working on it for 3 years. We've got it all planned out and engineered. It looks like it's going to be profitable, of course. Otherwise, we wouldn't be bothering. And that means we're going to have profit to share with our members who invest. Only members can invest.
Right.
That's the whole idea.
Right.
Right, yeah. But anybody can join the co-op from across Canada. We have members, as I say, in pretty well every province and territory. So, so that's coming right up. Like in about 3 or 4 months, we hope, we're going to be able to offer this investment opportunity to our members, and they will, through us, invest in this, what we think will be Western Canada's first cooperatively owned and operated solar farm. It looks like it's going to be the first in Western Canada.
So you have 2 firsts under the belt there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what we do. What can I say? We have a very dedicated board of directors, all volunteers, like super dedicated to what we're doing. We have 2 wonderful
Locals
employees in here. Pardon?
Yeah, locals as well? I
Yeah,
imagine?
all local. Well, yeah, we have some in Hudson's Hope, one in Peace River, Alberta.
Okay, yeah.
They scattered around because, now we can do Zoom board
For
meetings
sure.
and things like that.
Right.
But yeah, mostly they're in this BC and Alberta Peace region, I guess you'd say, yeah. And super dedicated, and we're really excited about this project. It's 35 acres of solar panels, 12,000 solar panels, and feeding into the grid, greening up that whole area with the green electricity, and it's going to be an impressive little facility. Yeah, and it'll be so cool to think that it's locally owned and operated, not just some big mega corporation from, I don't know, Tokyo or something building this thing and taking all the profits away. No. This will be a local facility to power the local grid, owned by local people, with the profits going back to the local people, and some to the co-op so that we can go build another one.
Yeah.
Develop another one.
Continue that cycle of
We've
firsts.
learned a lot on this first one, I'll tell you. Oh boy. So,
What's your stance on why green is, why renewable energy is a new drive, or should be a new drive?
well, it is a new drive.
Yeah.
It's sweeping the world.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Mm-hmm.
Solar is now the fastest growing energy source on the planet for a very good reason. It has such low maintenance. It's so reliable, and it goes up really fast to any scale. It can power your home, as I said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It can power your whole friggin' province. No question.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's expected to be the leading energy source on the planet within 20 years, right behind wind. Wind and solar are going to be powering the planet within 20 years or so. That's the way it's headed, and it's headed that way at breakneck speed. Why? Well, we've heard about climate change, I hope. It's happening. It's very nasty and very concerning. And there's one very clear way of improving that situation, and that's to move to energy sources that do not emit carbon. So those wind turbines up there, they spin around and power this whole region, zero carbon. Solar, same thing. They just sit up there and generate electricity. The sun is the energy source. We don't have to make the energy with renewables. We just harvest the energy that nature is providing for us. It falls out of the sky every day. Oh, duh, let's use it. The wind blows all the time, pretty well everywhere, all around the world.
Mm-hmm.
More or less.
Yeah.
Everybody's got solar, and everybody's got wind. So all we got to do is create the infrastructure that's going to harvest that energy that we can use. Eventually, right now, we go, oh, well, it's still a carbon footprint with solar and wind. Yes, there is. That's because we have to use the existing infrastructure to create this new infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, when we make the transition, we'll be making wind turbines with wind energy and solar energy. There's nothing we cannot make with electricity. So all we got to do is change the way we're making the electricity.
I know there is a crowd that has the point of view that creating a solar panel, the manufacturing process of a solar panel, is as damaging as as far as mining goes. But do you think that outweighs the resource for harvesting sun?
No question.
Yeah.
Oh, the studies have been done.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, once we have the infrastructure in place over the next 15 or 20 years, we'll be using that energy to do the mining or whatever. Plus, the new lithium batteries, I'm sure you heard there's a lot of controversy about lithium, but lithium can be recycled indefinitely. Solar panels can be 100% recycled. It's aluminum, glass, and silicon, and a few other minor elements, and this is 100% recyclable, right? We haven't had to really do much about recycling solar panels yet because they last for 50 years. We haven't got enough of them to recycle yet. But we will, and it's starting to happen, and we're starting to look at that, and there's some recycling starting. But lithium batteries, the new lithium batteries are meant to be recycled 100%. So once you have the energy infrastructure in place, very little more, not that much more mining is actually required. That's the goal. That's the long-term goal. But why is there a big carbon footprint for making solar panels right now? Well, it's partly because we have to use carbon fuels to build them. As I say, in the near future, that's going to end. That's the goal. We're going to move to renewable energy so we can use electricity to build just about everything we need from the sun, wind, and other renewable resources.
Yeah. I know, I imagine solar panels are having a longer lifespan nowadays. Growing up, I had a few solar panels, and they are definitely, technology has advanced quite a bit.
For sure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I was an early adopter of solar at my home here near Dawson Creek. Some of my solar panels are 38 years old,
yeah.
and they're doing just fine. All right, and we know for sure. I mean, they come with 25-year warranties now, the solar panels. So they're going to run pretty well for 25 years.
That's quite a long warranty.
That's a very long warranty. There's no moving parts. There's no maintenance.
Right.
They're super simple.
Right.
Yeah, they're super simple. So, no, it's a great technology, and with wind and solar, I think we can power the planet without no big deal. Oh yeah, it's going to take a lot of all of that. It's going to be a big job, but solar is just exploding, and so is wind all over the world, and that's why. All right, it makes super economic sense. Right, it's some of the cheapest energy we've ever invented because there's no fuel. You build them, and then they make the electricity for you from sunlight and wind. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah. Now we're certainly going to need fossil fuels for a while yet. No question about that.
Right.
Oh
yeah.
But the goal is to phase that out as we phase this in, and that is indeed what is happening. All right. It's not something in the pie-eyed future. It's happening right now, and that's a very, very good thing.
Yeah. A resource that naturally replenishes over 24 hours, or never stops in some areas.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a lot of other natural resources in the ground, but there is a finite amount of those.
That's correct. Yes,
Yeah.
and their carbon footprint is very high.
Also that.
Yeah, and so we have to slowly phase that out. as we retrain. And I mean, to make solar panels and wind farms, you need much the same technology and workers as you do for oil and gas, for instance. You know, you need to build a Bear Mountain Wind Park. Oh my goodness, there was every industry you can think of, every kind of worker there, from surveyors to cement makers to
iron workers,
everything,
I'm sure.
trucking, everything you can imagine. Yeah, iron workers,
welders, crane operators,
electricians, engineers, carpenter. Everything was needed to build that. So it's not like suddenly everybody's going to be out of work. Believe me. We have a lot of infrastructure to build right now.
How many jobs did the wind park create there?
Well, Dean, I don't really know that number. It would be in the hundreds for sure during the 2 years of building. But there was also a 2-year environmental assessment before that, and then another follow-up year of environmental assessment afterwards. Now, as I say, right now there's 2 crews and an operator that are full-time, local. But yeah, I mean, but that's one of the beauties of these new technologies. That the maintenance is actually pretty low. Yeah, they just kind of work, you know.
So taking that and pushing into a solar farm. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Secret hand signals.
This could go on.
Just
you know,
Emma letting us know what time it is.
You bet.
Would it be the same amount of job opportunities to create a solar farm? Putting in that infrastructure
compared to wind?
Oh, compared to the project on Bear Mountain there.
Probably fewer, because solar is actually simpler. And for instance, you know, there are no moving parts in a solar farm. There's nothing. Well, a wind turbine, you know, does require maintenance because it's a big moving thing up there in the wind, right? Solar just kind of sits around and generates electricity. But the actual construction, well, the one we're planning near Peace River, Alberta here, we hope to build next year and go to, as I say, go to a share offering to our members later this year in preparation for building it next year. We hope to hire all local people. We've already been talking to local contractors. You know, there's fences, there's some road building, there's a lot of shipping and assembly, several electricians certainly will be needed, that kind of thing. And then once it's up and running, well, we're going to do a really cool thing with it, though. We're going to also include agriculture in it. This is a very rich agricultural area.
Right.
The BC and Alberta Peace region, lots of expertise here in agriculture. So one of the things that's really sort of starting to happen with solar farms, it's a fenced enclosure, right? So you can put, we're going to put sheep in there to keep the grass down.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the grass growing up and, yeah, it's kind of like, it's called agrivoltaics. It's a new thing that's kind of sweeping the solar industry right now, and it makes such sense. You can't waste that agricultural land, right, on just solar.
Yeah.
Solar can give you shade. You can collect water off of them, potable water off of solar panels. It's just glass, right? And then you need something like sheep to keep the grass down. We're also looking at bees because you can do plantings in there. We have some local expertise about native plantings, about how to put in local plants for, say, pollinators. So you can have beekeeping in that facility. You can have sheep grazing. What else? Also, you can just have market gardening. It's only a couple kilometers out of the town of Peace River. So you could have market gardening there. We really want to do that. We want to improve the land. Right now, it's just sort of abandoned pasture land. It's not very good quality land. That's why we chose it,
right,
to put the solar farm on.
Right.
But that means we've got an opportunity to improve that soil, too. Let's improve that land. Let's make it better, while we're generating all this solar electricity as well.
I'm glad you mentioned
them both
that.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. Is if we got onto the topic of solar again.
Sorry, I just
no.
Can't help it.
It's great. It's great. That was one of my questions, though. Is would you incorporate something like adding livestock? Maybe not goats per se, because they tend to climb a lot. But
sheep.
Sheep. Yeah.
Sheep have proven to be very useful.
Yeah. Or something like a community garden based or pollinating.
Exactly.
Something symbiotic that would. that would match well.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we're planning on doing. There's quite a body of literature now building up around this, how to do it,
Yeah.
what kind of things to plant, and what kind of sheep, and blah, blah, blah. So we're definitely going to be doing that as part of our plan. And that's great because it involves the community even more. It's an agricultural area,
Yeah.
right? It's in the middle of beautiful fields, prosperous farms. It's a lovely location, right near the beautiful Peace River Valley, and we hope to sort of include as many local people as we can, not just in the jobs and creation. And there will be some maintenance. Somebody's got to keep an eye on it.
Of course,
There
yeah.
will always problems crop up, and somebody's
Yeah.
got to go out there and fix a few things once in a while. But more, we want to include the agricultural community as well, and I think that'll be a huge benefit to the local area as well. Not just the solar electricity and the investment opportunity through the co-op and all that kind of thing, but also just to have a facility that's kind of a showpiece, on how we can do things better, agriculturally and with electricity.
A local blueprint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd like to do many of these. Like this was we think of this one, here I go again talking about it, but we spent 3 years working on this one. We'll spend a year building it and finishing it, getting it up and operational. So we've learned so much, but one of these is not going to solve climate change, right? It's pretty small. What we need is dozens of these scattered around. We would like to do it again through the the Alberta and ideally BC Peace regions, right? Because we have such a strong solar resource. We have a great agricultural resource here and expertise to integrate the two together. And I just think it would be a fantastic way to go for the Peace region. That way we end up with distributed energy instead of huge centralized facilities that are actually very vulnerable and who knows what, right? Our vision and the real vision for the future of energy is distributed energy. That is, you have many small facilities all over the place. People with solar on their roofs, arenas and municipal facilities with solar on their roofs, right? And then you add in some storage, battery storage, and that kind of thing. Now you've got real climate resiliency. Yeah, real honest to goodness, as if you distribute it around, right? And especially if it's locally owned and operated.
Right.
And that's our forte as a cooperative, to
Yeah.
make it locally owned and operated.
Yeah. And I think that's something that shines out in a community, right? The pride of that.
Yeah,
having
exactly.
that,
Yeah, certainly. And that's a big part of what the co-op does too. We engage the community in this, right? We involve the community. We give them an opportunity to invest in it and own part of it. I mean, that's pretty cool. So that's what we're doing. And I think it's going to be very successful. We're getting a tremendous response.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we see this as the first, and then we would like to do another one. We're already looking at another piece of property, not too far from the one we're building now in Alberta. And if there's a call for clean power in BC over the next year or so, we'll be looking at building one around here too, and involve this community in owning some of that. That would be our goal.
Well, 1,000 members. I think that'll come around fast. I hope.
I sure hope so. We're working hard to make it happen. You bet.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Don, thank you for your time. Enlightening. I think I learned a little bit here.
Appreciate that. Great.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to catch you and share your story, and yeah, hope to see good things in the future.
I think you'll be hearing from us. Yes. Fantastic. I really appreciate this opportunity to get the word out. Say a few words to a broader audience. That's fantastic. I really appreciate it.
As do we. Yeah, appreciate you coming on the show.
You guys are great. Thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All
Okay.
right.
Don't stop, baby, you're the one I love. Don't stop, baby, you're the one I love. Don't stop, baby, you're the one I love. Don't stop, baby, you're the one
'Cause every time that Mother's Day felt like it came too soon, we'd rush down the block to Helen's on First Avenue. I could cry for the passage of time. There's something so sweet and so blue in this heart of mine, and the city you will find. Helen's on the corner of First Avenue. Right beside the flower shop was Joe's restaurant, a daycare and a cafe, and Gina's hair salon. I remember feeling like the greatest thing to do was walk over and say hello to First Avenue. I could cry for the passage of time. There's something so sweet and so blue in this heart of mine, and the city you will find. Helen's on the corner of First Avenue.
Look at this. I am now, what did we say, 30% cooler?
We agreed on 30%.
30% cooler thanks to this tattoo. And today, the woman who made the tattoo has joined us. This is Abby of Sublime Tattoos.
Hi,
Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Abby of Sublime Tattoos. I have been in this space here since September of last year, and I have been tattooing since I was... My mom informed me this morning that I lied to you guys. I said 9 yesterday. It's actually 7. I've been tattooing since I was 7. But tattooing and being self-employed for 3 years now, and I'm happy to call this place home.
Pretty damn cool. So where are we? What town are we in, the smack dab in the middle of the downtown of?
We are right downtown Dawson Creek in like the most prime location that I could have possibly gotten a space in.
Not to be confused with Dawson's.
It's not Dawson's Creek. It's Dawson Creek. Dawson singular.
Not to be mixed up.
Of the George Dawson.
George Mercer Dawson.
Yeah,
We read
you
some-
went to the
we went to the
museum.
We did. We learned a lot from the walls. But on tattooing, what's the process of a tattoo? Someone like this, obviously I'm just excited to talk about it, but walk me through the process. How does it work with a client when they're like, I want a tattoo?
So first, you convince your client to go from a little sprig of maybe a lavender to nearly a half sleeve. Super cool. So like, we can afford like an hour, maybe 5.5.
Hours later.
So that's number one. And so I like to do the line work first, get that all in and nice and clean, and then I give my clients a good spray of Bactine. You gotta wait, otherwise you'll wipe the whole stencil away. But I start from the bottom, work my way up, so that I don't wipe the whole stencil off. And then we throw some shading in there. You gotta go from darkest to light, otherwise you'll make the ink all muddy and gross. And then yeah, we threw some color in there and threw some white in, and that was so much fun for Emma.
Emma's tough now.
Emma's tough now. Minimal whining. She can run faster now. She's 30% cooler.
Then the back of the arm, it really just
Shnew.
makes you faster.
Yeah.
So quick now.
Yeah.
Dang, so it can be a pretty long process, eh? The time in the beginning when you're like sitting with a client and going back and forth, how does like the design process work? Is it mostly your designs or other people's designs that you do?
So I always do a custom design. Even, say if a client were to bring me a piece that they had drawn themselves or they had commissioned somebody else to draw for them, I know how to translate it into a tattoo that will work. So sometimes, yeah, people bring in silly little drawings that they've done, whatever. I'll turn that into something that we can make visually pleasing as a tattoo ages. And if it's a custom design, I like to look at the tattoos that a person already has to kind of fit in with a cohesive style, because you have to be pretty, I don't know what the word would be, able to do it all. In a small town like this where we have so many successful and talented tattoo artists, you kind of have to be able to do all of the styles. You can't really be stuck on one thing. So I take a look at what a client already has, kind of try to match that. And I like to get wordy with my clients. You know, say as many things as you possibly can about the design that you're looking to get on you forever. And then go from there and try to hope that it's perfect. And then if it's not, I like to schedule my clients so that we can scrap that whole design. You show up, you don't love it, let's scrap the whole thing, start over, build it together, and then you see it on the paper, you see it on the stencil, and then it's on your body. You can move with it for a while before anything is made permanent. And then, yeah, we make it permanent.
Sounds like a pretty good process.
I think so.
I'm hearing like a lot of focus on what your client kind of wants and making sure they really like the design. So like in that beginning, what's the most important part to you about finding the right design?
Finding the right design, I love to push my clients to tell me no. You know, I give so many opportunities to back out. Like, no, this doesn't have to be forever. Like yours, you know.
We talked about it a lot.
Yeah. And so it's either you like it or you don't, and you don't have to get it. I'm not ever going to push a client to do anything that they don't want to do, because I have to live with myself, but I don't ever have to see your tattoo again necessarily. You know? Like, yeah, I could tell you, no, this is what we're doing, sit down, shut up, I take your money. I never see it again. But I care so much and so deeply about the people walking away. Like, you're going to walk away. Every time you look at the back of your arm, you're going to think about the experience that you had here and our time together and everything leading up to that tattoo and your next tattoo. You know, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to be thinking, okay, my last tattoo, this is the process. This was the experience. And so you're going to carry that with you forever. And I'll be here doing my 1010th tattoo.
That's really cool. I really appreciate how much you let people make up their own minds. Like, I definitely appreciated that when we were writing this out, because I'm so picky. I'm obviously so visual, right? Like, I'm a filmmaker. Everything I do is visual.
Yep.
And so I always feel so bad about coming in and being like, well, what if we did that? What if we did this? And you just made me feel so comfortable about doing that.
Good.
And
Thank you.
It was great. And you like really took time with me. Like, we had a lot of fun together. It felt like trying to figure out the design, trying the different things. Me like, well, what if it was like slightly more than a piece of lavender?
Yeah.
Which
Let's
is a great
wiggle
tattoo,
this.
but
Let's maybe
yeah,
make this a little smaller, this a little bigger.
It was awesome. It was that really good feeling too of like, you can have really good ideas, but when you're working with someone who's like, I see your idea and this is how it gets better. Like, that's so cool. Like, it definitely felt like you're talking about when you translate it and make it a custom design into how it's going to look beautifully with tattoos. Because I was like, oh, like, I like this design. And you're like, okay, but like, if we do this and if we do this, it's going to be a better tattoo. I was like, oh, yeah, you're so right.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I could have given you just a tiny little sprig of lavender that'll look like a blob in 3 years. But instead,
big, beautiful cherry blossoms that will look great in several years. I'm really excited. It's
Me
so
too.
big. I will say, though, you're saying I'm going to walk away and see this lots. It's really hard to see. Like, I even like trying to show it to the camera, Mike had to like tell me which way to drop my arm.
Yeah.
So that other people can see it. I don't see this
that
tattoo
keeps
much.
it fresh for longer, you know? It's still exciting. Like the ones that I don't, the back of my neck, I'm still like, oh, sorry. That's cool.
What would you say
a
is a piece of
great
advice you
tattoo.
have for someone that has never had a tattoo before and is thinking about getting a tattoo?
Well, I would suggest to research your artists in your local area or beyond even. I mean, it's worth traveling for if that's what you're going to do. If you find an artist that's hours away, travel for it. It's only your very limited amount of skin for the rest of your life. And that's why it's such an honor to be that person's choice, because there are so many options out there in the world and so many incredible artists that, yeah, you should absolutely travel for if that's the style that you're looking for. But research, preparation, don't rush into it unless, you know, you're very, very excitable.
I'm a little excitable.
A little bit.
Fun fact, it's only about 15 hours from Vancouver to Dawson Creek.
Only.
Just in case anyone was wondering.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than 10 hours. Yeah, I know. I know I'm right, Mike. It's okay.
I was thinking about Kamloops.
I know you were.
I mean,
We looked up how
15
far it
hours.
is. 15 hours.
I've made it faster.
What's your time limit or best time?
Like 12 and a half.
All right. 12 and a half, pretty solid. We'll have to beat that.
Don't.
Beat that.
It's dangerous.
Actually, I think next time we're going back to Vancouver, we get to take the ferry. We're going to go across to Terrace and then take the ferry. Mike's crossing his fingers. We really want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And go to, I think it's Prince Rupert, where the ferry goes, and then take it all the way down to Port Hardy to the tip of the tip of Vancouver Island. I need more coffee. So we won't get to beat your record this time around, but we'll have to
This
try
time.
another time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can beat it coming back up.
So you're saying research all these different tattoo artists because there's different styles.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a style that you love and tend towards more than others?
I really love line work. I kind of lean towards like a more neo-traditional style.
Mm-hmm.
And I love doing black work, but that's black and gray, obviously, black work.
It
But
was not obvious to me.
it's so timeless. You know, like you can have a full body of all sorts of random pieces of art. And if it's all black and gray, it can still look cohesive as like, you know, your whole leg is something, a bunch of different somethings. And it looks like it goes together. Whereas if you have a bunch of different styles and some have color and whatever, sometimes it kind of looks like stickers that are weird.
I've definitely seen people that look like they're covered in stickers,
Yeah.
but it's permanent
Like a bunch of
stickers.
different styles and separate pieces that don't really make sense together, and that's also what goes into my thought process when designing. Is this is going to start a thing. Tattoos are so very addictive in so many ways that, okay, how can, even if I never tattoo this person again, how can I make sure that this piece can cohesively flow into the next thing, or, you know, leave space for building off of that, because you're probably gonna. So I try to be thoughtful of
I don't know why you're looking at me.
the realistic thought that you are probably going to get more. I mean,
Don't tell my mom
the people are going to get more.
I'm actually looking forward to shocking my mom. I don't know if she's watching the stream, but she doesn't know I was getting a tattoo.
Sorry, Mom.
She's been trying to, I have one on my leg that's like this big. She's been trying to rub it off for like 5 years.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
She
Really.
didn't try to lick it and rub some dirt on it.
She tried that too, I think, at some point. Yeah.
Sometimes that works.
It's not good tattoos, but it does. Can you define, just for those of us and me who don't know the definitions, what is line work considered and what is neo-traditional?
I mean, that's kind of same. But neo-traditional is more of, like, it's not realism, and it's not traditional, like, Sailor Jerry style flash, you know, but not quite realism. So it's got the nice bold lines and the flow, and usually rich color if there's going to be color in it. And lots of strong highlights. But the line work, I love doing me some crispy lines versus
Strokes it.
versus realism, which is also a lot of fun, but I really love crispy lines because that's what holds up well.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this ages, to be honest. I'm a little
too.
worried about when I get super jacked and then it warps a little out of it, but I think other than
Yeah.
that, we should be good.
That's okay. She can just have like a throbbing vein in her forehead.
Just so strong.
You can just flex her face.
I'm not doing that on camera. Do you have any examples of neo-traditional behind us? I know some of your artwork is up. I'm on the wall now!
Yeah, your piece is kind of.
Is Mike on the wall? Mike also
Mike
got
is
a tattoo.
on. Mike is the bee's knees. Mike is on the big wall.
Mike's on the big wall! For those of you who haven't seen it, Mike got a bee tattoo right above his knee. And it's the bee's knees. Come on, you think it's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, don't even lie.
Very clever.
Okay, so neo-traditional is like the much more bold colors.
I don't even know if I have any. Yours is kind of there.
Really?
Kind of.
I always imagine neo-traditional to be much more gothic. And mine seems more the like,
Google it.
yo, Google it.
Google it.
So then in all of this process, what's your favorite part? What's your favorite thing about tattooing?
The smile that my client leaves with. I'm not even trying to be cheesy, but when a person goes to look in the mirror after a piece is done, and the look on their face, usually,
Hopefully.
of just being so excited and giving. See, I think about it too much. I care about it so much. And in my brain, I love giving a person the power over their skin and how they are perceived by the outside world. So, people that come in and say they have an insecurity that they want to cover or beautify in some way, shape, or form, and I get to give that to a person, I love that. That's the best part of the job for me. Cheesy.
Definitely. But also very sincere.
Yeah.
And I get that. It's a really cool part of your job.
It is. It's super cool. And the bond that I get to make with people. Like, I have a client who I've done 7 tattoos on now. And then we have this huge, beautiful thigh piece started. And then she went and got pregnant. So, her silly baby. I know.
Can you not tattoo someone while they're pregnant?
No. I mean, I could tattoo whoever I wanted, whenever I wanted, but it's frowned upon. But I've done 7 tattoos on her, and in that time, we have developed such a strong relationship that she just asked me to be a bridesmaid in her wedding or marry them. So,
Which one are you going to do?
oh, I don't want to talk in front of people. This is the last straw. This will be the last time I make any public announcements. So shout out to JC and her dumbass baby.
That's pretty lovely.
I will be a bridesmaid. And I just got invited to a baby shower of one of my clients. And the bond that I get to make with people. I get to spend hours and hours with them doing something that they carry with them for the rest of their lives. And I get to make all these wonderful friends and wonderful relationships that otherwise I never would have, because I'd be at home in my backyard with the chickens if I wasn't here.
Seems also a pretty good place.
It's a great place.
But I'm curious about that, because you have said before, it's rumored, that you don't like people much. But yet you love the people aspect of tattooing more than...
I love that I get to pick and choose the people that come through my door. I don't allow any less than the best energy in here, because it's what I want in my life. I've wanted for a long time to just have peace in my life, peace and just quiet. And I feel that I attract that strongly. I put a lot of power and energy into attracting peace. And I bring in just wonderful, wonderful people. And the people that don't have the best energy tend to just kind of fall away. Like, things don't work out, they don't respond to an email, or something comes up in their world and they just fall away. So I do just consistently get the best kind of people in here, and it makes me want to people a little bit more sometimes.
Heard it here first. She likes some people.
Some people are pretty okay.
People are pretty cool. So tell me about that. Who owns Sublime, and what have you put into putting it together?
So I own Sublime, and that name actually just kind of, I love the band Sublime. I love the definition of the word sublime. And I was looking into what's the word, registering my business name. And so I had to have a business name, and I'm sitting at my grandparents' kitchen table, and I'm like, oh, well, the last song that I had played was by Sublime. So I was like, well, I'll look up the definition of that word. Okay, that's not too pretty bad. Okay, I'll look up if there's any more. And yeah, that's available. Okay, I'll do that. And I'm thinking, I can change that if I come up with anything better. It was either Sublime Tattoos or Stabby Abby's Tits and Tats. So I was like, Sublime is less letters.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah. And that is
Stabby
because
Abby's Tits and Tats.
my mom does areola restoration for breast cancer survivors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's something that I had been looking into doing as well. And I was like, tits and tats.
How do you, like, is that a tattooing process of, like, redrawing them? Or, like, is it like a...
Yeah, she does, like, photorealistic nipple replication.
That's so cool.
It is so cool.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, and she is so very talented at it. And I mean, like I was saying about giving your clients that gift of reclaiming their bodies.
Hugely.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a life changer for a lot of women that my mom does that. So eventually one day I'd love to get into that. But wow, the pressure. The pressure alone in this, huge. I take so much of that on. But one day I would love to be able to do that because it's a beautiful, powerful thing to do. But Stabby Abby's Tits and Tats, that's, I didn't go with that.
I do like Sublime.
Me too.
I think it's a good name. I think you can, like, there's a much wider range of clientele I'm sure you're getting with that name.
Yeah, Stabby Abby's.
Don't know if we would have walked in as quick.
I don't know. I think I would
good.
attract the wrong kind of people. Tits and tats on the window.
I would think that might be a strip bar.
Yeah.
Tits and tats, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be in a great location for it. But so I rolled with Sublime, and I'm very happy that I did because it's, I try to give every client a sublime experience. I really do.
I think you succeed.
Thanks.
Tell me more about how you set up the shop. Like, what went into it? How did you make the space your own and one that you can welcome people into?
So the color of the walls in here when we moved in was the color of wet fart. And I can say fart on here, right?
You just did. So we're rolling with it.
Twice. Mike doesn't look very impressed, by the way. So it was gross in here. I went to the extent of like taking an X-Acto knife. You can't see the tiles, I'm sure. An X-Acto knife in between every crack in these tiles and scraping out the gunk and using one of those wire toothbrushes and just everything. It was excessive. I was rolling on that stool just back and forth, just all day long, just so that I could confidently say that I know how clean it is in here. Mm. And then we wanted to go with like nice calming colors that are still bright enough to, make sense for a tattoo studio with horrible lighting. And we did diagonal walls, and I threw up as much artwork as I had, and it still just feels like it's not quite complete, but my boyfriend is a carpenter, and so like this sink over here, completely custom from a shelf on Marketplace and a sink and all of the other things from Home Hardware. Can I say Home Hardware on here? I did already.
You can say whatever you want.
So I got so much help from him and so much gold spray paint. And then like everything in here that wasn't just a paint job was Trevor. And his mom flew from Whitehorse, or drove from Whitehorse.
Oh, wow.
15 hours straight to come down here and help us paint. And she was terribly sick.
Oh.
And didn't know what she was doing, but she did everything that she could to help us. So that was awesome. My mom dropped a couple of days of work and came and helped too. Painting, she showed us up. She's a really good painter. But
Looks really good.
my mom owned a tattoo shop here in town for 25 years. Closed down her shop right before COVID because having a business front downtown gets exhausting. If you've been, a successful business person for that long, I'm sure I'll get sick of it in another 23 years. But she happened to have all of these stations and the chairs that I needed to get started, so that was really helpful. And then, word of mouth, being a third generation tattoo artist, people wanted to come see what I was all about. And here we are. And it just keeps evolving every day.
That's pretty cool. Very, very cool. So tell me about that more. Your mom was a tattoo artist, so you started tattooing at 7. What spurred you to finally go into the business? Because there's a long gap from tattooing fruit to tattooing humans, right? Tell me about the process that led up to you starting this business.
So for the longest time, I avoided getting into tattooing because of the people. I thought, how am I going to sit there for hours and hours with strangers? And them watching me do something permanent and all of this pressure. How am I ever going to be able to handle that? So that was scary for a while. And then, every school project of describe your dream career or whatever, tattoo artist. I wanted to do that. Or marine biologist for a minute there. Just like every other kid.
Yeah.
Or an astrophysicist.
Super cool.
Tattoo artist, astrophysicist. This is art. I always dreamed of doing art for a living in some way, shape, or form. And so for a while, my first job was a pawn shop here in town. That was people. There's people there. I did retail. There's people there.
There's a lot of people there, yeah.
I was a general laborer and equipment operator. And that was so much fun because not very many people. And so that was satisfying, and I made that kind of art in its own way. Everything that I did in my life for a career or whatever took up a majority of my time. In my brain, I turned it into some kind of art.
How did you do that?
Art brain. Just like I'm sure you see everything in a kind of production sense. Yeah.
It's all movies in my head.
Yeah, it's all just a different kind of brain, right? Mm-hmm. So my brain sees everything as art. Nature as art. Everything. Like this couch, how would I paint that?
How would you paint it?
Oh, I wouldn't.
It'd be hard. It's so fuzzy.
Okay, this couch though.
Side story. Let's go.
Side story. No, it's a beautiful couch. But I loved running equipment because I'm a Leo and I wanted to be better at it than any of the men, and I strived for that every day.
So satisfying.
So satisfying. And then I moved from that due to people reasons.
People can be shit.
People can be super... Oh. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I
Beep.
was going to edit this one. So.
When Emma curses, Emma has to edit.
So I went from that, and there was a situation with kind of a toxic, abusive ex that stalked me. So COVID hit, I was being stalked, and it was a scary time to leave the house in any way. And then I was going nuts, living with my mom in her house. And then one night we were like, well, I'm bored. Are you bored? Should we go tattoo each other maybe? Okay, let's go do that. And so we stayed up till midnight tattooing each other. We have matching tattoos, I'm sure.
See it?
Yeah,
This one right here
yeah.
matches your mom's. Can you see it? It's so pretty.
So she's got a black one, I've got a red one, and it just, I don't know, she wanted to be the first person that I tattooed, of course, as a mom. And then I went down to, just to get out of town, change of scenery, because I was going insane, as I'm sure so many of us were. And I was gifted the opportunity to go down to Black Swan Tattoos in Gibsons on the Sunshine Coast with Michelle Warawa. And what a nice break that was, to get out of my hometown that I've been in forever and go down there and just get a break, see some new faces, some new scenery, and just catch my breath after just the stress that was happening here. And then I loved it. I did a couple of tattoos there that I'm glad that I don't have to see walking around here. And everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
And then I came home with just a refreshed attitude. You know, I came back with gratitude for the town I grew up in that is so easy to talk badly about. Stop myself from cursing there.
That was impressive.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's easy to want to say bad things about the place that you grew up in. And Dawson Creek is somewhere that, if you've been here forever, you know, you don't have a change of scenery, you don't have a refreshed attitude or state of mind, it'd be easy to say bad things. And I came back with so much appreciation for it. Just the place that we live, it's beautiful. It's an hour drive away from like epic hikes, waterfalls, lakes, rivers. There's so many things to do here if you have the drive to go look for it. Just like in any place, there's a lot of bad things that could be happening. It's just here, you know about it. You know where to go and where not to go. So I came home happy to be home, and it felt like home for the first time in a long time. And then I started tattooing out of my mom's private studio and loved it and made so many connections with so many good people. People are sometimes good.
People are sometimes pretty great.
Yeah. And the support that I got from the people who came to get tattooed by me, like, honored me with even just an inch of their skin, blew my mind. Blew my mind that anybody would trust me at this point to give me their very limited amount of skin. And so that just kept driving me to get better. Do better, be better. Like, do these people right that are coming to support me, because they just kept coming. And then I had the opportunity to get into this space here, and I don't see myself stopping until my back blows out. Maybe sooner rather than later, but I love what I do now.
That's amazing.
Did I answer that question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Terrifically.
thanks.
That's good. I love hearing how happy you are to be where you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing to hear from everybody.
Yeah, I imagine what a place it would be if everybody had something to go do every day that they loved and could make money on, and that really fueled their soul. Right? What a world that would be.
It's a pretty good world.
Yeah.
What else do you love about your job?
I said the people already. That's the first thing that pops into mind again and again, is the people. And just the fact that, yeah, I see the world as art. Everything to me is art, and that has been such a huge staple in my life and who I am as a person. Anybody that I went to school with can vouch for me when I say that I wasn't in class. I was in the cafeteria or in some corner in some hallway drawing. I wasn't in class. I traded actual classes for an extra art class. You know, I love art. Everything that I want to do is in some way, shape, or form creative art. And I get to do that every day and make a living on it and help people own their skin. And I'm a therapist in so many ways. So I not only get to do what I love every day, but I get to help people and listen to people and maybe take a load off their back. and I have some experiences to share. So there's a lot of things about my job that I really, really do love. Plus, I have an extra space outside of my house to turn into a greenhouse.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that this is our indie version of Between Two Ferns.
Mm-hmm.
Off-brand version.
Just as weird.
Just as weird. So you've got the space. You've been here less than a year.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to go next? Like, do you want to just keep building this business here? Do you have future plans for Sublime?
I'd love to keep expanding this business until I outgrow it.
How so?
Well, this space here, I mean, I could fit a few artists in here, but it would be to find the right people. The right people that fit the energy that I want to put out there. Because the energy in here is very, very important to me. And the people that come in here. Because I wanted to model this space around everything that I didn't like about everywhere else that I've been. You know, the outside world is a hard place to be sometimes, especially for somebody who doesn't like people. So I want to keep evolving this space until it, like right now, it doesn't even feel like exactly what I would love for it to be. You know, I would like to keep building the artwork on the walls and do so many more things in here all of the time. But one day, I might outgrow this space. Like, I'd like to expand my business more to market the tourism and clothing and products and just art things and stuff. And one day I might outgrow this place, or one day I might want to downsize. Just depends on, you know, where the universe takes me.
Well said.
Did I answer the question? Okay.
You did. Very
Just go off the rails.
Nope. Perfectly. See, what you haven't seen is we've just developed this rail system that goes in every direction. So you can't go fully off the rails. We're here for it.
I'm just here making noise.
I love it. We're here for the noise. What do you like about Dawson Creek?
I like the community. I know people make up the community, but definitely as I've been expanding myself as a business person, I've come into more opportunities to be a part of the community. You know, town hall meetings and going around. Me too. Going around and talking with other business owners here to, you know, on this block here, I've made all sorts of connections just to know that we've got each other's backs, because there are so many female-owned businesses just here on this block.
Really?
Yeah.
What are the other ones?
There is the health food store right here, is run by Devin. She is a wonderful, very knowledgeable lady who has lived here and has a family here for quite a while. There's the ladies up at our social here. That's Jessica Kula and Taya Lekstrom. Her dad was on the, I don't know, he was an important guy. Sorry, Blair, I don't know what you do. But they founded that space, and then they teamed up with Alicia as a co-owner, and they're all powerful women and smart women that started this wonderful space for collaborative working and all sorts of products, and they host events that empower women and women in business, and they do so many amazing things that I'm just proud to be near. And then there's the ladies upstairs. There's April at Infinity Crafts and Yvonne at the Healing Hub. Pretty confident on that. And then Robin at Platinum and Ice. She does wicked hair. There's Brittany that I have in my space here. She does wonderful hair. And then there's
That's so many.
it'd be easier for me to list off the male-run businesses here. There's so many. There's so many women-run businesses just in this block alone.
Yeah, that was in like all of those places you're describing are like 10 steps.
Yeah. Yeah, and then some. Like, yeah, I can't think of any that are male-run except for Brendan upstairs. Shout out. He's wonderful. Also does hair.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah. So I love that about our community, is that there's a lot of support for women that want to do business and just the community itself. There's a lot of art community, and yeah, you're not going to find somebody that wants to tear you down very often. I mean, I'm sure you could, but more often than not, I've ran into so much support. Just blind support. You need something, I'll get it for you. I'll help you out. It's wonderful about this town. I know that I could go to any of my neighbors right now, whether it be here or where I live, and if I needed something, I could just go ask. And I would not have the door slammed in my face. They would do everything in their power to help me. And I love that about this town.
It's pretty remarkable.
It is. It really is. Because, I mean, as much as I can say that I don't like people, that's just my go-to. It's my go-to attitude. It's a shield, in a way. But the people here really are wonderful in so many ways. So that's my favorite part about Dawson Creek. And also that it's super easy to get the hell out of if you want to. Go that way or that way, and you're in the wilderness.
It's gorgeous. We spent a little bit of time exploring, and hopefully more this weekend.
Yeah.
But oh my God, it's beautiful around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. What's something you wish people knew about Dawson Creek?
That there are good things to do here. You know, it's not just driving around and getting coffee.
But I like coffee.
But it's not just that.
Okay.
There are so many more things to do. Like, I mean, the museum. There's so many people here that have lived here forever and have never been to the museum here.
Really?
And it's such a neat museum.
It's a pretty neat museum.
I learned so many things going there.
The dolls scare me.
The dolls are horrifying, and I wish somebody would light them on fire, but that's not going to happen probably, unless the right person sees this.
We
don't condone.
Don't invite too many arsons. We don't condone much
Okay.
arson.
Just dolls. That would bring on such a haunting.
Oh my God.
So, anyways, don't burn the dolls.
No arson. We don't like arson.
The community, the art gallery is huge for that too.
Let's talk about the art gallery. It is so cool. It's in an old grain elevator.
Yeah, right? Such a neat space in there. And then there's art classes up at the top. That's also super cool. There's a tiny little window to look out and see a beautiful view of Dawson. But what a neat building. I have no idea how they did that.
They moved it. It was one of many in a lineup of grain
Oh my
elevators.
God, you're right. Yeah.
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 They lifted and moved it. There's been a surprising amount of building moving in Dawson Creek.
Mm-hmm.
Way more. Because from what we've understood, things were going to happen in Rolla. Just Rolla. Darn!
I'm winning. We thought I was going to be the problem.
I'm always the problem. Let's be real. You know the world's best boss?
Thanks, Brittany.
Who are you bossing around? Yourself?
Yeah. Got to keep me in line.
Say it again.
Rolla.
Rolla.
Rock and Rolla.
Rock and Rolla. Things were going to start in Rock and Rolla.
Yeah, that was the main hub of what was going to be the community.
What happened?
The railroad. And the mile 0 of the Alaska Highway. So everything just kind of, people started settling here rather than Rolla. And Rolla is still, did you guys make it out there?
A little bit. But
Yeah.
it turns out we went the wrong way, so we only got close. I definitely thought it was south of town, and then you were like, it's north of town. And I was like, what?
Very north.
Very north. I very believe you. I'm just saying.
Any
we
north
went-
road, you'll just get there.
Okay, well, today we will, because we're going to Fort St. John. No,
No.
That's
I mean, you
going-
could, actually.
that's going west. Yeah.
I'll draw a map.
Please do. Please do. We
So-
hear you make nice art.
Yeah, I can draw a mean map.
Don't play with that.
You can draw one with your finger, and then we can animate it.
North. Yeah. So Rolla is a super cool little community. And I would definitely recommend going out there. Just like, I mean, there's like 4 streets to it. But the 4 streets are kind of cute. It's kind of neat. Sometimes there's goats and alpacas running around. For real. Or llamas.
Either or.
The big one. Llama.
We heard too, there's often just moose in town. And beavers.
And beavers?
Maybe I misheard.
I think
Feel like
in
I
the
heard
Dawson
beaver.
Creek. Yeah, I've seen beavers in there.
That being not downtown, but the creek named Dawson Creek.
Yep. The creek that goes through Dawson Creek.
Even separate from Rolla, though, there is. I said rock and roll in my head, and it really helped.
Yeah.
The like settled area of Dawson Creek was originally not where it is. It was like a little ways away, and then they picked up the buildings and moved them closer to the rail station.
Yeah, that's so wild.
So wild. It's been a remarkable amount of building moving, which can't say. I don't know what other chance I would have had to say that.
Right?
It's an odd thing.
Whitehorse too.
Really?
They did a lot of that in Whitehorse.
Maybe it's more prolific than we realize. Maybe they're just moving all the time.
Right? Maybe. There was also a massive explosion. in
Tell us
Dawson.
about that.
Things exploded. There's signs all over downtown about it, but to stop and read them, no thank you. There's people out there.
60 crates of dynamite
Right.
being stored in one of the military bases right near downtown, across from the railway station, 3 blocks from here. 3 blocks from here, and it wasn't being stored very well, and it was a tin roof. And a small fire started because there was up on the second floor there was like a wood stove burning because it was in the winter, and the wood
Nice.
stove burned, and then it burned a little bit that it wasn't supposed to burn. And then it kept burning because it was kept in by that tin roof.
And everything kept burning.
Yeah, and then once one stick of dynamite got caught, they all went off. And 60 boxes of dynamite exploded a block and a half-ish.
Ish.
Give or take that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Quite
Yeah.
cool. I mean, not good. Very not good.
Kind of cool.
But very not good. We don't condone artisan. But there is, yeah, it was quite a huge explosion, and there was like quite a few people injured and died, which was a very, very bad part of it. But such a wacky story, like mishandled dynamite.
We've learned to
City
do better
Town
now.
Center. Yeah, I'm quite impressed by the lack of explosions near here.
Yeah.
It's great.
Actually, my mom's original house out on Sweetwater Road near Rolla, Rock and Rolla, was blown up with dynamite.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, why?
There was a rivalry. Yeah, between neighbors. One neighbor was sleeping with the other neighbor's wife, so this neighbor went and planted a bunch of dynamite in the front corner of the house and blew it up.
Oh my God. Don't sleep with your neighbor's wife, folks.
Yeah, don't do that.
Not
It's like
polite.
in the Bible or something.
Or something. This is going off the rails.
We're doing great.
This is beautiful. Is there anything else you want people to know about Sublime? Anything that comes to mind that is really like, yeah, anything we haven't asked about that you want to tell people about Sublime?
That I'm pretty cool.
10 out of 10 stars?
I do kind of like people sometimes.
She likes us.
I like these guys after spending way more time than expected with them.
We kept showing up.
Indeed. I accidentally made more friends.
Now she's stuck.
The one thing that I would like to say about Sublime is that I never thought that I would be here. I spent a lot of years doubting myself, a lot of years with a struggle with depression that I didn't feel was conquerable in a lot of ways. And every shooting star, every eyelash, every dandelion, I wished to be happy. And I thought that that might start with making plans for my future. And the one plan that I had was I want to just once sell a piece of artwork. Just once I would like to have somebody want to pay money to have my artwork and put it up in their home. And that started with one of my best friends, Anton. He paid me for a print of my artwork, which pushed me to start going to farmers markets, start making prints of my work, going to farmers markets, people were showing up. People were buying my stuff. People were coming to the farmers markets specifically for my art. And then that pushed me to keep making art, making time to make art. And kept driving that passion that I had because I loved how people would relate to what I've just pulled out of my brain. That's how I expressed my feelings, was creating art, and then having people relate to that. That was huge. And it just kept building and building, and just having that little bit of faith in myself here and there, and a little bit of support drove me to do this. I opened my own downtown business a month after my 23rd birthday. When I was, 15, I didn't think that I would make it to 20. And here I am. And I'm happy. Genuinely happy every day just to be alive. It's the Sublime experience.
That was so beautifully said. There's nothing
Thanks.
to add on. I, for one, am so glad you're here running this downtown business.
Me too.
It's such a cool business. Definitely, I was one of the clients with a giant grin on my face.
Yeah.
I think I was bouncing around your shop.
Yeah, she was. She was indeed.
You were pretty excited too.
Yeah.
There was an Abby version
It's
of that bounce.
way cooler than just a sprig.
It is. I'm so glad. But yeah, I thank you for sharing that story of how hard you pushed through everything to keep going and to open a shop that's been so much for you and so much for the people that get to come in and out. So thank you. I think there's a lot of people, a lot of us that have been through those times of like, oh fuck. So
Worst thing you can do is fail, then try again. That's the way I looked at it. Yeah, I might open a business and it might suck and it might do terribly, but worst thing is I could fail. Then I can try again.
well, I honestly think that's a beautiful note to end on, but is there anything else you feel like sharing with us?
Shout out to single moms. I was raised by a single mom and here I am doing this, running a business by myself now. And thank you to everybody who has supported me, because I wouldn't be here without all of the support. And the people that showed up at the farmers markets. I remember those people first. And the people that got my extra permanent 3D, very blown out tattoos. I appreciate that.
What's a long tattoo if this is a quick tattoo?
Oh, I've tattooed for, I think 7 hours straight was my longest one tattoo.
On one person?
Yep. I've done 12-hour days though, but that's a bunch of actual small tattoos.
I did hear you call mine a half sleeve, and I'm extra proud now.
It's almost a half sleeve.
Almost a half sleeve.
You'll come back for the rest of the half sleeve.
All right. More questions?
Yeah, a few audience questions. Do you have any plans to travel in the near future or further future?
To conventions?
Yeah, conventions are a lot of fun. I love doing that because, well, the people. I love conventions because it's a great opportunity to go and meet and greet with other artists and learn so much and see all sorts of different kinds of people and get my art out there further in the world. Like my mom's tattooed in Switzerland.
Whoa.
And there's convention literally all over the world that you just got to get an invite to.
So is there any specific ones that you have planned to go to next year?
I would love to hit Vancouver again and Kelowna. Calgary is such a fun show that I haven't tattooed at before, but I've been at with my mom helping at her booth. So much fun. But I would love to do more guest spots out there in the world and conventions. So much fun. A weekend full of so many people. But so much fun.
And where could people find you and find out where you're going next?
On my Instagram, Abigail Tattoos or Sublime Tattoos Collective. I post things on there sometimes because I have to
Because she loves the tattoos.
I love the tattoos, but the peopling on the social media. But Instagram. Find me on Instagram or Facebook. Shoot me an email if you wanna.
We wrote a very, very long email.
Very long.
Very long. Very long. A little embarrassing. A little long. That's good. And do you have any Flash coming up?
I have so much Flash all the time. I'll be doing some Flash events in the following months. I'll be doing one for the Show and Shine. So they're going to shut down all of the streets downtown and park all of the classic cars of the area and beyond out on the streets. So I'm going to have my doors wide open, and I'll be doing like traditional style Flash, pin-up Flash, and all sorts of car-related things and cowgirl things, and it'll be a lot of fun. I love Flash events, and for the Fall Fair rodeo and exhibition, I'll have doors open for all sorts of silly little cowboy bangers, rodeo Flash, carnival Flash.
What's a cowboy banger?
Cowboy hats, cowboy boots, cowgirl butts, ropes and things, maybe some cows. You can imagine, I'll do it.
Can't have the cowboys without the cows.
All hat, no cattle.
I'm still a really big fan of that phrase.
Right? There's a lot of that. But yeah, I will be doing Flash events. I will be traveling in the future. There's so many things that I have planned to expand myself and my business.
Tell me more. What else
Oh
do you have
boy. I am in the perfect spot. You can see the traffic circle. It's the traffic circle for us here. It's the mile zero post for people that.
Wait, I actually have a very serious question for
Okay.
Mile Zero Post. Do you use it like a roundabout, or do you just go in any direction you want?
It's the traffic circle. It's a circle for the traffic to go wherever you want to go. But you're considered a bit of a dick if you just keep looping around because it's so small. I have done this, and you get the fist.
Because we used it as a roundabout when we first came to town, and it did not go well.
What do you mean? You just kept whipping around it?
It's a long story.
Just wee!
It's just too fun. But I want to hear about your business plans. Tell me more. What do you have planned? That's way more interesting.
So I'd love to market tourism more. So postcards, prints,
Oh.
shirts galore, all sorts of designs for things, because really, where did you see for tourism? You know, there's the museum and the art gallery for touristy kind of knickknacks. So I want to do postcards and magnets and things and stuff that's cool, that's not just like the same stuff that you're going to see at the next town up the Mile Zero, the Alaska Highway. I live here.
We believe it.
So there's all of these things that I just found in my road trip up north, was that any shop that you're going to go into, it's the same knickknacks.
There's a moose.
Yeah.
There's a highway.
Yep.
There's a Canadian flag.
Yep. Maybe like a duck.
A loon.
A loon. So I'd like to market that a lot more and start making all sorts of creative products like sun catchers and just all sorts of knickknacks and things and stuff, because there's so many months of the year that it's disgusting to be outside. And you know, if I have days off, I'd love to spend time just creating. That's what I want to do all the time.
It's a pretty great life.
Yeah, right? So marketing tourism, that's the next step for Sublime. Is more products to bring people in the doors. So cool things are coming.
Any other cool things?
Just me.
Just you?
Yep.
You's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna probably keep getting cooler or weirder.
I mean, they're not mutually exclusive.
No. I know, believe it or not, I might get weirder and cooler.
I believe it. I think we've exhausted all of our audience questions, but again, thank you so much for having us in here, for tattooing the heck out of us.
So much. So much tattooing.
for having the patience for our terrible jokes.
Likewise. And stories that should not be shared.
We will not share your stories, but definitely one of the kindest things anyone has done for me was to tell me stories like you did while I was getting pricked rather severely.
That made you feel better, hey?
It made me feel so much better. So much better.
I shouldn't be telling anyone ever the stories I tell here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
you're gonna leave one of my best friends, so.
That's a good marketing. That's a good marketing thing.
There you go.
Everybody leaves,
you
and I'm
want
like,
to
I
hear the
love you, I'll
stories-
miss you, see you next time.
If you want to hear the good stories, come get tattooed.
Yeah, I will overshare.
And we love it. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank
with
you
us,
guys.
Chatting with us. Yeah.
We're
Thanks,
for real ending?
Yeah, we're for real ending this time.
Okay.
It was just like a. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Let it be known that we are not historians. We are two
Hey.
ordinary schmucks doing our best. We've done our research, we've been to the towns, we've asked the questions, but we are not historians, and we are not from the areas we were talking about. These two stories in the town of 12,000 are the ones that we want to tell. But unfortunately, no one wanted to be the expert on camera. So we did meet quite a few experts off camera, and we're cobbling together what they've told us, all of the manic scribblings in my notebooks from our many interviews and like meeting with people, and from our research and our deep dig of the South Peace Historical Archives, who are very cool and have done a very remarkable job clocking history of the last 100 years, because there's a lot of it. Like we said, we've cobbled together a bunch of quotes. So the first quote we've got is from Alaska Highway News. And
1943, the American Army showed up in Dawson Creek at the time. Population 500 people, quite a small, intimate community. Working on the Alaskan Highway, the old town was surrounded by makeshift barracks and storage warehouses for construction equipment. One, a lively barn in the center of the commercial block, housed thousands of miles of copper wire, kegs of nails, spikes, crossarm braces, hammers, crowbars, tires, and other assorted tools. 200 cases of percussion caps and a truckload of dynamite were also stored in the handy location.
of right downtown. They continue to say, somehow a fire started. The inevitable explosion followed soon after, incinerating whatever was in the core zone and blowing people off their feet in expanding circles throughout the town. Fire spread rapidly, and eventually, only one building remained standing, the co-op store, but it was wrecked and looted. But this is the interesting part.
Don't loot the co-op store.
This is what Alaska Highway News says. And Alaska Highway News is a paper that's been in the Peace region, in Fort St. John and Dawson Creek and surrounding areas, since the early 1900s. So they would have likely had reporters there. Who was one of the founders of the South Peace Historical Society. Speak to just like not knowing how the fire started. But everyone seems to have a different theory. And the people that we spoke with at the South Peace Historical Society say that it was someone lighting a stove, and they lit a wood fire above the aforementioned 200 cases of percussion caps and a truckload of dynamite. And we all know what happens when you mix fire and dynamite. Dorothea Calverley has a first-hand account of being there right when the explosion hit.
She was there.
She was there.
This
She
is
was
her
there.
account of what
Yes.
happened in the 1943 explosion.
Thea was working as a rations officer.
I heard a whoosh and a crackle of flame, thinking that the man next door had spilled some coal oil on a cigarette butt in the warehouse. I opened the door cautiously. Through the open back door of the passageway, I could see flames burning out the corners of the building across the alley and a little west. I put in an alarm. What do you think the alarm was? Like, was it a cowbell? It wasn't a push button.
It would have been
alarm.
a phone. She had a phone.
Fire of any kind was a horror in a frontier town. There was no water system. Our water system was to buy drinking water at 5 cents a pail. There was nothing to do but let the structure burn. As I watched, the building was ablaze from end to end and sagging to fail.
And there was the crack of what I thought to be a shot. I thought, the soldiers are firing over the heads of the crowd to make them get back before the building falls. There was a second sharp sound, then the light went out. For what must have been 20 minutes, I did not know anything. A few nights later, I relived the whole thing in a dream. Or a nightmare, when I heard and felt the blast. But of the time itself, I remember nothing. This is why I cannot describe, as others did, the sudden falling down of those nearest the building, followed by a concentric falling of those farther and farther away. Before the sound or blast reached the spectators a block away, they had time to wonder what ailed everybody that they were suddenly lying down in circles, one after the other. Then the blast hit them, and over they would go like a bowling pin. If they're in front of windows, they might hear the glass breaking from the blast. Some nearer, over whose heads the blast raised its force in the rays characteristics of dynamite. The burning building and its contents, completely red hot, went hundreds of feet in the air. Where the brightness of flames had been a second before, there was a momentary blackness as the fire was snuffed out like a candle. But a few minutes later, there were hundreds of small fires as debris came down over a block away in all directions. Worst was the thousands of miles of copper wire, mentioned earlier because of the Alaska Highway, which unrolled from its reels and tied everything in tangled coils. As I woke up, I remember thinking, my back is broken. There's a flaming piece of wood on the roof next door. I can't move and I am going to burn here. At first, I was curiously calm, but then it seemed such a pity to have died trapped like this. So one by one, I tried each set of fingers and toes. They moved, and suddenly, I am sure I said aloud, for goodness sake, I can move. I'm getting out of here. And I did. Out the top of the door over a careening heap of cartons. The ceiling had come down too, with its load of boxes on that side of the room. Maybe that is what struck my back, where a welt the size of my arm rose to be discovered. Maybe that is what struck my back, where a welt the size of my arm had risen, to be discovered 3 days later when I finally took my clothes off and went to bed. That was the other part. This woman, 3 days, on her feet, working to save her town. The rations were burned up. She was a volunteer Red Cross, and at first, she doesn't know where her family is.
That's incredible. Resilience.
Amazing.
I mean, a town of 500 people, you're going to be doing a lot of different things here and there. And to make it work, yeah, that'd be tough as nails.
A school nurse driving her car was startled by a flaming auto tire descending on her car's radiator to hang and flame on. Can you imagine that? Keep in mind the town itself at that point is 4 blocks?
Yeah. A little more than that. Without buildings and stuff. But it is extremely small. Your town is all of a sudden raining tires and copper telephone line.
Worse than spaghetti and meatballs.
More expensive, for sure.
Yeah. Except for a few dazed people standing around. Mostly soldiers, the street was now deserted. Dazed myself, I ran the wrong way first, towards the doctor's office, where somehow I expected my husband and son to be. The destruction was incredible. I appealed to some American soldiers to help me find my boy and husband. They seemed dazed too. They all said, "I don't know what I can do, lady." Suddenly, I was furious. I remember tongue-lashing one boy in uniform for his lack of cooperation, and he began to blubber. Turning to run towards the store and the theater, which is where her husband worked at a hardware store at that time, and her son had gone to a movie that night. In, of course, the downtown core. Because, of course, it was a Saturday night.
Right.
Turning to run towards the store and the theater, I came upon a man staggering down the street. The pants looked familiar. Nothing else was recognizable for blood and mud. The face was streaming red from near an eye. The voice was my husband's. He wanted to lie down in the gutter now that he had found me. Some fragments of recent Red Cross first aid classes about shock crossed my addled mind. Some fragments of recent Red Cross first aid classes about shock crossed my addled mind. The necessity of keeping him warm to prevent pneumonia. I persuaded him to sit in a shattered window opening and went back for my coat to wrap around him. looking on the floor at the stuff from the shelves. On returning, I found that a friend, Mr. Kingsley, in whose window he had been sitting, had now got Howard, her husband, into a car and said he would take him to a doctor. I have never ceased to be sorry I did not splint the arm as I should. I can only blame my confusion from shock and fear. That hand is still only 25% useful, and being rebroken after being rebroken, and a metal plate set in. Perhaps a smashed larger bone below the elbow would have turned out that way anyways, but... She goes on to account the following several days, and holy cannoli, it is wild. Her husband doesn't return in the end for 16 days because he gets sent to a hospital in Puskupi because the hospital in Dawson Creek is completely full of the aftermath of the explosion. 9 families lost everything in the blaze, and most of the town is flattened to the ground. Dorothea finally sleeps after 3 days, and then that's when she starts having those flashes. She talked about of like what actually happened. She just like doesn't stop for 3 days. She goes home. She finds her son at her house, and her mother, her son's grandmother, is there like taking care of the son. Everyone's freaking out. The main food store was the only place that wasn't burnt to the ground, but it was completely looted in the explosion. So there's nothing in it. So these 9 families that lost everything, they had like a shower for them almost, where everyone like brought what resources they had. And again, that was something Dorothea ran. So she got everyone motivated to be like helped, and she like describes everyone being like very dazed. And she's like, I think I was dazed too, but like they had nothing, and there's nowhere to buy anything.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And so then with the rations, there was like, it was something like she needed 1,200 and they'd only given her 600. And so she like fights and argues and is like arguing with the Edmonton. She's like, everything burned out. And she's getting like more and more frustrated with them. And she like starts like very politely, of course. And they finally like send someone out to Dawson Creek to see what's going on. And she's like very exasperated, but finally gets enough ration coupons for the town and gets them like handed out and delivered on time. So everyone gets their food in good time thanks to her.
That's astonishing.
Yeah, this woman was remarkable. In 1942, the Alaska Highway was started in Dawson Creek. The U.S. had just started the war and needed a way to access Alaska up north. By 1946, the construction was completed. And to this day, it remains a very big point of pride for people in Dawson Creek. It's still like the main attraction, which is why we're talking about it as well. Why we like hunted the town for someone to talk with us about it is because that's all you see. That's
a lot of what you see. They even make little keychains with the 0 post.
They do. And those keychains actually have been being made since 1946. They started up that tour side of things very quickly.
Yeah.
Because the original milepost, the mile 0 post, was like a regular like highway post, right? Like just like a
marker,
couple feet tall marker.
Yeah. This
is mile 0. And of course, like within, it was erected, I think in like the spring maybe, and like by the summer it was run over. I think it's so funny how long it lasted. Like it didn't even last like 6 months. So on Christmas of 1946, a member of the Junior Chamber of Commerce, sign painter Ellis Gislason, built a new 10-foot mile 0 marker and erected it in the center of town, instead of where the actual highway starts.
That's a good move.
Why is it a good move?
Paint it, move it into the downtown core.
Go wee, woo.
Yeah.
Good move. It really did allow a pull, though. Like, it really upped their tourism. Having a more visible sign and bringing people into downtown. Because most people just stop in Dawson Creek so that they can see the mile 0 post. And having it downtown pulls them into downtown.
Yeah, so that's a good move. Well done.
At that point, though, it was not secured to the ground, which is my favorite part.
You know, things to work out, new ideas.
I honestly think the most recent time it was stolen was like the early 2000s.
New ideas, new problems.
Yeah, it's left room. The unsecured base left room for generations of pranks.